Every Buddhist practitioner is like a poor person who constantly runs away. Leaving their father's home running away means seeking external attachments, however. What we seek is always within our 6 consciousnesses, always within the scope of the Tathagata's store of enlightenment, but we do not know that all conditioned phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, or shadows. They should be viewed as such. If we can observe every phenomenon in this way, we will realize that they all manifest from the Tathagata's store of enlightenment. There is no inherent connection between phenomena. The entire world of appearances is like shattered glass, no longer existing from the perspective of Buddhist practitioners. We can interpret the following scripture. Imagine a person who initially studied Mahayana Buddhism and already possesses the potential of Mahayana. However, they have attachment and distance themselves from the Buddha. They go elsewhere to learn about conditioned phenomena or various incomplete teachings. Seeking knowledge and gain this leads them to cycle through the 5 realms. The realm of gods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. They go through many experiences, tasting the 8 sufferings. The suffering of birth, aging, illness, death, separation from loved ones, encountering adversaries, not getting what one desires, and the suffering of the aggregates inflaming passions. They continuously revolve within the cycle of birth and death because they have attachment and have distanced themselves from their true nature, unable to tap into the boundless power of their true nature. Consequently, they become impoverished, not knowing that they possess the precious jewel of their true nature. They search for teachings everywhere, seeking inner peace and liberation. They learn many methods and practice various paths, continuously exploring new teachings. But ultimately, they cannot attain complete liberation gradually. They come to the country where the Buddha resides. However, the previous disciples who studied Mahayana Buddhism with the Buddha have all left. The Buddha is searching for someone with the potential of Mahayana, someone capable of inheriting the Buddha's teachings, as no one has inherited the Buddha's complete understanding of all teachings. The Buddha contemplates entering nirvana directly. The Buddha's domain is filled with immeasurable treasures and Dharma treasures. It includes the 3 baskets and 12 divisions of scriptures, all kinds of wisdom, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path, the 5 roots, the 5 powers, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 right diligences, the 4 bases of magical power, and the 37 aids to enlightenment. It also encompasses the 4 noble truths, the 12 links of dependent origination, the 6 perfections, and many other Dharma treasures. Furthermore, there are all kinds of skillful means to accomplish anything. One can act as they wish without hindrance, in accordance with the right Dharma, with the 1 mind and 3 contemplations, the immediate teaching method, the gradual teaching method, and the emptiness contemplation. One can embrace all beings' minds and guide all practitioners from the 2 vehicles to the Mahayana. With this single mind, all phenomena arise, permeating all realms, including other countries, encompassing all sentient beings, and enabling them to practice the Buddha's teachings and walk the path of a bodhisattva through inheriting the Buddha's teachings and family legacy. Everything spoken is a wondrous Dharma because it can universally encompass all sentient beings. The branches and leaves that grow from it are limitless and boundless at this moment. The practitioner who follows Buddhism has already experienced the 5 aggregates and the 8 sufferings. They have tried various practices in other spiritual paths, but found no liberation unconsciously. They have arrived at the place of the Buddha and returned to the teachings of Buddha. This signifies that their residual karmic forces have temporarily ceased, and their connection with the Buddha has matured, because all practitioners of Buddhism are considered children of the Buddha. Even if they undergo numerous cycles of rebirth in the 6 realms, the Buddha never forgets them. The Buddha, however, feels regretful, wishing that all sentient beings who study with the Buddha could understand the true Dharma earlier. The Buddha's opportunity to guide sentient beings is running out, and the Buddha possesses all Dharma treasures if there are no disciples to inherit them. Once the Buddha enters nirvana, these treasures will be lost. Therefore, The Buddha often contemplates finding sentient beings with the great potential of Mahayana and entrusting all the Dharma treasures to them, so that the Buddha will no longer have worries at this moment. The practitioner, having experienced birth and death in their mind, sees the Buddha but hides on the side. Secretly observing the Buddha, they notice that the Buddha is seated on a lion throne, surrounded by great bodhisattvas and celestial bodhisattvas with countless invaluable teachings of the Mahayana. The Buddha's presence is majestic. There are also other bodhisattvas holding white dusters, symbolizing the white duster hand in the 42 hands and eyes. They wipe away empty dust and false dust while the Buddha resides in the middle way. Then, with a mind of compassion, the 4 grasping methods and the 6 supernatural powers are employed to adorn the Buddha's form. The fragrance represents the tranquil water that pacifies a restless mind through tranquil water. The 7 pure flowers manifest, namely, the flowers of discipline, concentration, and wisdom. Then, the precious objects are presented. These treasures represent the profound Dharma of Mahayana, which is the true treasure. Such treasures symbolize genuine wisdom and are used to guide all sentient beings. With all these teachings, the Buddha's 32 major physical characteristics and 80 minor characteristics are adorned. However, the practitioner, who has long been living in the realm of birth and death, deeply regrets coming here. Upon witnessing the immense power of the Buddha, they wonder, who is this? Is he the king of heaven, or the king of demons, or the king of the human world? As I pondered, I realized that this is not the place where I can learn. My abilities are insufficient to comprehend their teachings. It would be better for me to return to a place within my capabilities, work, and sustain my life. If I stay here for too long and they force me to learn their ways, what should I do? I simply cannot learn it. And I don't possess such great wisdom. I should live quickly. At that moment, the Buddha, seated on the lion throne, recognized the practitioner standing outside the gate. The Buddha knew that this person possessed the potential for Mahayana. Instantly filled with joy, the Buddha thought, finally, I have found someone to whom I can entrust all my Dharma treasures and assets. I often miss this child of mine, but they have been away from me for so long that I couldn't find them. However, after experiencing everything necessary according to their karmic forces, they have finally returned to the teachings of Mahayana, which align perfectly with my intentions. Though I am approaching nirvana, I still hope that these practitioners can inherit my Tathagata's legacy. Therefore, the Buddha sent a bodhisattva to bring the practitioners back. The bodhisattva used various skillful means to forcefully bring them to see the Buddha. In a short amount of time, however, the practitioners, whose understanding was still shallow, cried out in protest, saying they had done anything wrong and questioned why they had to learn from the Buddha in order to comply with the Buddha's instructions. The bodhisattva had no choice but to forcefully bring the practitioners before the Buddha. Even before they had time to adapt, the practitioners arrived at the presence of the Buddha. Feeling worried and afraid, they believed they were innocent and wondered why they were being imprisoned. They felt that they had lost their freedom this time, which caused them to panic and eventually faint. The Buddha observed the practitioner fainting from a distance and realized that a gentler approach was needed to gradually bring them back to the path of Mahayana. The Buddha said to the nearby bodhisattva, "There's no need to force the practitioner to learn the teachings of Mahayana. Let's first awaken them, and then let them go," because the practitioner still carried many karmic obstacles and couldn't generate the mind of Mahayana. And because the Dharma I need them to inherit possesses immense power and is exceptionally noble, I have observed that they already planted the seeds of Mahayana in a distant eon. They are true children of the Buddha. However, due to their heavy karmic obstacles, they need to gradually remove them through the teachings of Hinayana. Thus, the bodhisattva said to the practitioner, "I won't force you to learn the teachings of Mahayana anymore. I now release you. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?" The practitioner was overjoyed and immediately returned to their original dwelling place, sought employment, and sustained themselves. However, they still didn't realize the priceless treasure of their own true nature at this point. The practitioner had returned to their comfort zone, The Buddha observed the circumstances and contemplated which skillful means would be appropriate to ensure a smooth inheritance of the Tathagata's legacy. Thus, the Buddha dispatched to bodhisattvas, concealing their true identities and appearing worn out, lacking any majesty. To approach the practitioner, they informed the practitioner about a well-paying job that was simple and easy, capable of removing the defilements of afflictions. The two bodhisattvas disguised themselves too, looked just like the practitioner, and went to the practitioner's original location. They negotiated the salary and discussed work matters, and the practitioner agreed to take up this job. This job entailed practicing the Hinayana teachings that the practitioner had originally learned, such as the 37 factors of enlightenment and the 12 links of dependent origination. Practicing these methods was akin to removing excrement. However, solely engaging in these teachings was insufficient to inherit the Tathagata's legacy. The Buddha saw that the practitioner was content with merely practicing Hinayana teachings, and he could only sigh after a few days. From a distant place, the Buddha secretly observed the practitioner's body, which had become emaciated, weary, covered in excrement, impure, and lacking the ability to develop true wisdom. The practitioner didn't possess enough merit to comprehend the true nature of things, to eradicate all doubts, and to inherit the Tathagata's legacy. To prevent the practitioner from developing a fearful mind, the Buddha decided not to manifest his complete nirmanakaya in front of the practitioner. The Buddha realized that if he appeared in his perfect form, it might invoke fear in the practitioner, hindering them from recognizing their own inherent nature and causing them to focus solely on the present circumstances. Therefore, the Buddha concealed his immeasurable meritorious nirmanakaya and dressed in coarse clothing, concealing his true nature with afflictions, appearing fearful of birth, aging, illness, and death. Like an elderly person who had just begun practicing Hinayana teachings disguised in this manner, the Buddha approached the practitioner, assuming the same identity, ensuring that the practitioner wouldn't develop a sense of superiority or inferiority and wouldn't perceive any distance between themselves and the Buddha. Through this skillful means, the Buddha interacted with the practitioner and said, "You are doing well in your practice as long as you are not lazy and continue to diligently practice, eliminating the impurities, afflictions, and habitual tendencies in your mind. You will undoubtedly experience greater benefits by remaining here and continuing your practice. You don't need to worry about achieving any realm you desire." The methods, such as the 4 dhyanas, the 8 absorptions, the 4 bases of spiritual power, the 5 faculties, and the 5 powers, all of these doors to the Dharma are accessible to you. Everything you need will be fulfilled. I am like your father. But you should not be anxious or concerned. It's simply because I am older than you, and you are still young. I have noticed that you do not engage in false speech, negligence, anger, or complaints here. The analogy refers to the 5 faculties: faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. With the faculty of faith, there is no deception with diligent effort. There is no laziness with mindfulness. There is no anger with concentration. There is no hatred with the faculty of wisdom. There is no resentment or complaint. There are no complaints at this point. Due to the Buddha's skillful means, he recognized this person who practices Buddhism as his own child and gave them a name because of this. The practitioner officially enters the realm of the noble ones, also known as the realm of the hearers. However, this practitioner is still unaware that they are already a Buddha child, although the practitioner has already become a Buddha child and is destined to become a Buddha in the future. They are not yet able to fully utilize their supreme wisdom or awaken their potential for the Mahayana. Some remnants of their previous thoughts still remain. Their sole aspiration is to eliminate their various afflictions and cleanse their mind. After eliminating impurities, the next stage is to cultivate and eliminate the 2 obscurations of views and thoughts, leading to inner purity. This practitioner, within the realm of the hearers, has gained some insights into cultivation and the study of Buddhism. They have no difficulties entering and exiting the realm, and their thoughts, speech, and actions are all aligned with their practice. However, what they cultivate ultimately remains within the scope of Hinayana. Such a mind cannot carry the burden of liberating all sentient beings in order to guide all sentient beings from the small to the great. The Buddha cannot always act as their protector. Each person who practices Buddhism must walk the path of a bodhisattva, accomplishing their own Buddha way and liberating all sentient beings. The Buddha wants these practitioners to be capable of self-liberation and the liberation of others, ultimately achieving Buddhahood. Therefore, before entering nirvana, the Buddha wishes to entrust all his treasures and dharma wealth to this practitioner. The Buddha's treasures, including various meditative absorptions, liberations, samadhis, and more, are immeasurable, overflowing internally and externally. When do you need to use them? When should you conceal them? What is their purpose? You should know all of this, the Buddha said. Now, there is no distinction between you and me. You should pay special attention. Be particularly diligent, and not lose sight of the teachings of the Mahayana. Do not lose the path of the Bodhisattva. Your every thought should be dedicated to propagating the Dharma. Do not let the Dharma perish. To propagate the Dharma and ensure the continuous growth of the Buddha's teachings. Do not be impatient when dealing with different individuals. Start by employing skillful means. All worldly teachings are expedient means, methods to guide sentient beings. As long as you can comprehend the true nature of all phenomena, you will be able to freely utilize your precious jewels to enlighten sentient beings. Remember not to develop a mind of regression. Walk the path of a bodhisattva, and do not lose the Bodhi mind at that moment. The practitioner immediately received the Buddha's teachings. They examined and accounted for all the Buddha's treasures and dharma wealth. Taking on this interested mission, they delved deep into the Tripitaka and the 12 divisions of the scriptures, comprehending all the Buddha's teachings. At this point, the practitioner's mindset transformed. They were no longer focused solely on their own purification and the eradication of their afflictions. Their mind expanded, and they began to cultivate the teachings of the Mahayana. However, due to their long-standing habit of individual cultivation and their inclination towards achieving personal enlightenment, when facing various afflicted sentient beings, they believed that the path of a bodhisattva was reserved for Mahayana bodhisattvas. They were not yet prepared to walk the bodhisattva path. After some time, which includes the periods of agamas, vaip, ulya, and prajna, those who practiced the small vehicle Hinayana Buddhism had heard all the teachings proclaimed by the Buddha. Finally, these practitioners understood how to cultivate the teachings of the Mahayana. They realized that they must awaken themselves and awaken others, accomplishing all kinds of wisdom, leading all sentient beings to attain Buddha's knowledge and views. In order to become Buddhas, they finally recognized that their previous mindset, which was solely concerned with personal liberation, was too narrow-minded. The Buddha discovered that the practitioners had finally understood his teachings, and thus he could enter nirvana. Before entering nirvana, the Buddha summoned bodhisattvas from the 10 directions, including those of the equal enlightenment, Dharmakaya bodhisattvas, and all other bodhisattvas. He gathered them together and publicly declared that all those who studied the Lotus Sutra were Buddha's children, his true heirs in a certain lifetime. They had sought external connections and drifted away from the Buddha. They underwent the cycle of birth and death in the 5 realms. I know their names. These names were given by me initially. I was concerned that I would never see them again. However, suddenly, in this city, in this video, we encountered each other. So I employed numerous skillful means to guide and enlighten them. They are indeed my children, and I am their father. All the Buddha's knowledge, views, and various kinds of wisdom, 10 suchness, these profound teachings have been fully understood by my children. At that moment, the practitioner heard the Buddha speak in this manner and felt immense joy. They thought, I never imagined that I could obtain all the treasures and dharma wealth of the Buddha, although I never harbored such thoughts. The Buddha has bestowed them upon me. This truly fills me with ecstatic delight.